A stranger demanded I give my designer jacket to her son because he was cold. When I refused, she tried to snatch it off my back and screeched, "You don't even need it!" The mall security guard stepped in as I smirked and said, "Then you'll love explaining attempted theft to the police." So this happened last winter, and I still can't get over how insane it was. I'm not a confrontational person. I usually mind my own business and let people act however they want. But sometimes someone pushes just far enough to make you react. That's what this woman did. I'm a 32-year-old guy living in Minneapolis, Minnesota. If you know anything about winters here, you know they're brutal. Sub-zero temps, biting wind, freezing snow. You can't just walk around in any jacket. You need real gear. A couple years ago, I treated myself to a Canada Goose parka. It cost me over $1,300. I saved up for it, researched it, and when I bought it, it felt like an accomplishment. Not just because it was expensive, but because it actually worked. It keeps me warm no matter what. I'm not rich. I don't collect designer brands. This coat was my one luxury thing, and I use it every day from November to March. So one Saturday in January, I went to the Mall of America to pick up some boots I'd ordered from Nordstrom. If you've ever been there, you know how big that place is. It's easy to get turned around. I was just walking through the central area after grabbing my boots, heading toward the exit. I stopped at a little coffee kiosk to grab something warm, just doing my thing. Then it happened. She came out of nowhere. I'm walking past the carousel when I hear someone behind me yell, "Excuse me!" "Hey!" I turn around, thinking maybe I dropped something. There's a woman coming toward me, pushing a stroller. Except the kid in the stroller isn't a baby. He looks about 6 or 7. Red nose, watery eyes, clearly cold. He's only wearing a long-sleeved t-shirt and what looked like pajama pants. No hat. No gloves. No coat. I figured she was going to ask for directions or something normal. Instead, she stops right in front of me and says, "You need to give my son your coat. He's cold." At first, I thought she was joking. Or testing some weird TikTok prank or something. So I just blinked and said, "What?" "Your jacket," she said, pointing at it. "My son is freezing. You don't need it. You're a grown man. He's a little boy." I laughed. Not to be rude, but because I couldn't believe what I was hearing. No," I said. "I'm not giving you my coat." She took a step closer. Her tone changed. "Why not? He's freezing. Look at him." The kid wasn't saying anything, just sitting there quietly, sniffling. "You're a man. You'll be fine. He needs it more than you. Come on, don't be selfish." I said again, "I'm sorry, but no. This is my coat." And that's when she snapped. She tried to take it. She screamed, "You don't even need it!" and suddenly grabbed the front of my coat. I stepped back, shocked, almost dropping my coffee. She tried to pull on my sleeve like she was going to take it off me. Her hands were clawing at the zipper. I backed up fast and yanked my arm out of her grip. She didn't let go. She grabbed again, this time with both hands, trying to unzip the coat while yelling, "My son is cold! You're a grown man!" People were stopping and staring. A few had their phones out. I kept trying to back away and told her, "Let go of me. Right now." She screamed again. "You don't deserve it! Look at him!" She pointed at her kid like that made her the hero of some kind of movie. He still didn't say anything. Just looked down and started crying softly. I pulled myself away again, harder this time. I was done playing nice. I looked her straight in the eye and said, "You're about to explain attempted theft to mall security and probably the cops." And then I saw him, a mall security guard coming toward us from the second level. He had already seen everything. Mall security gets involved. The guard came over fast and stood between us. He was a big guy. Calm voice but firm. "Ma'am, back away from him." "Now." She immediately switched gears. "He attacked me. He made my son cry. I just wanted to keep my son warm." The guard said nothing for a moment. Then he pointed up. "We have cameras. I saw the whole thing." Her face changed completely. She looked around like she was trying to figure out how to get out of this. She started pacing in place and muttering, "This is ridiculous. He's a grown man. What kind of man refuses to help a child?" The guard told me to come with him to the security office. Another guard showed up and took her and her kid in a different direction. She yelled the whole time, "He's a monster! He wouldn't give my son his coat! He doesn't deserve to be warm!" We got into the security office. They asked me to sit down, offered me water, and had me give a full statement. I explained everything, How she approached me, what she said, what she did, and that I didn't touch her. Just pulled away from her grip. They asked if I was okay. I told them I was fine, just rattled. They showed me some of the footage from one of the cameras in the rotunda. It was all there. Crystal clear. Her grabbing me. Me stepping back. Her lunging again. I didn't know what was happening in the other room, but I could hear her yelling through the wall. Then it got worse, for her. About 15 minutes later, a Bloomington police officer arrived. He came into the room with one of the guards, nodded at me, and asked a few more questions. They had me sign a statement. Then they told me something I didn't expect. She was already on probation. She had been arrested recently for shoplifting and had mandatory counseling and behavioral conditions. One of the terms was no aggressive conduct in public. The officer told me she was being detained for questioning and might be charged with attempted theft, disorderly conduct, and probation violation. She was still yelling. I was trying to be a good mother. What kind of man lets a kid freeze to death? I didn't respond. I just looked at the officer and asked, "What happens next?" He said, "That depends on whether you want to press charges." I didn't answer yet. Because this isn't over. So, I'm sitting in that cold security office. My coat sleeve is stretched from her yanking on it. My coffee's gone, my nerves are on edge, and there's this buzz in the air that something more is going on. You can feel it. The officer had just asked me if I wanted to press charges. I didn't answer right away. Not because I was unsure, but because I had this weird gut feeling that this wasn't just about the coat anymore. Something didn't feel right. The guard who brought me water leaned in a little and said, "You should probably hear what's going on in the next room before you decide." The interview next door. I didn't ask. I didn't have to. Because her voice was loud enough to cut through the walls. "I'm not going back to jail. I didn't do anything." He lied. "I was just asking for help." Another voice, calm, male, replied, "Ma'am, please lower your voice. The footage shows you grabbed him twice. That's not asking for help. That's assault. It's not assault if it's for a child." She actually said that. Then silence. For maybe 30 seconds. Then more yelling. "You don't understand. I have a court date in 2 weeks. If this goes on my record..." Click. That's when I heard the sound of cuffs. The officer in the room with me looked up at the ceiling like he was counting to 10. Then he asked one more time, "Are you pressing charges?" And before I could speak, someone else opened the door. The curveball. It was another security staff member. A woman maybe in her 40s. Serious face. She stepped in and said, "You're gonna want to see this." We followed her down a side hallway to a second security monitor room. Bigger screens. A guy was sitting at the desk scrubbing through different cameras. He looked up at me and said, "You said she came out of nowhere, right?" "Yeah." He rewound the footage to about 5 minutes before our incident. What I saw on that screen made my stomach turn. She was watching me. There I was on camera, walking through the food court. Looking at store signs. Stopping at Nordstrom. Getting coffee. Behind me, maybe 20 feet away the whole time, was her. She followed me for over 5 minutes. Same jacket. Same kid in the stroller. Same angry face. She was watching me, choosing the right time to come in. She wasn't desperate. She was planning. I watched her pause when I paused. Stop when I stopped. Even turned into the same corridor as me, keeping her distance until I reached the rotunda. She picked me. That hit different. She didn't snap out of desperation. She hunted for someone alone, wearing something expensive, and used her kid as a tool to try to take it. It wasn't about keeping her child warm. It was about taking what she wanted. That's when I made up my mind. "Yes," I said to the officer. "I want to press charges." And just when I thought it couldn't get worse, it did. Another twist. The officer asked if I could hang around for another half hour. He said they were running her ID through the system again. Something didn't match. I wasn't sure what he meant, but I agreed. Honestly, I wanted to know what else was hiding under this mess. About 20 minutes later, the same officer returned with a strange look on his face. "We might have something more serious here," he said. Apparently, the name she gave them didn't fully check out. Her ID was real, but when they ran it through the state system, it pulled up 2 names. Same birth date. Same photo. Turns out, she changed her legal name recently. And under the previous name, she had an outstanding warrant. For, wait for it, child neglect. What now? Security staff kept asking if I was alright. I said yes, but inside I was boiling. She tried to rip my coat off in public. Lied about what happened. screamed in my face. Traumatized her own kid. And now this? This wasn't just about me. This was bigger. I told the officer. Whatever you have to do, do it. I'll sign whatever. I'll show up in court if you need me. He nodded. Then asked if I could stick around just a bit longer. Someone from Child Services was coming. The kid was being taken into custody for now. It wasn't the outcome I expected, and honestly, that part was the hardest to hear. That kid didn't deserve any of this. He looked cold and quiet, not angry or loud like his mom. He looked tired. Just tired. So I'm still in the mall security office. I just found out that the woman who tried to rip my jacket off wasn't just some aggressive stranger. She had a warrant under a previous name, and Child Protective Services was now involved. I was sitting there thinking the situation couldn't get much darker. But I was wrong. The kid. Let's talk about her son for a second. He hadn't said a single word since they brought them in. Security said he just sat quietly, sniffling. He didn't ask for his mom. He didn't cry when they separated them. He just kind of shrank into himself. The way he acted wasn't normal. Not just cold or scared. It was like he was used to things being bad. The social worker who arrived, her name was Michelle, came in with this soft voice and calm energy. She was gentle with him, knelt to his level. I only caught parts of what she was saying through the slightly open door, but I heard this. Can you tell me your name? It's okay if you don't want to. We just want to make sure you're safe. There was a pause. Then he mumbled something. Michelle turned to the officer and said something I wasn't expecting. That's not the name on the record. False identity? Now I'm fully alert again. I look over at the officer, who looks at Michelle and says, What did he say? She replied, just loud enough for me to hear. He gave a different last name. Different from hers. Another officer, a younger guy who had been mostly quiet, asked, Could he be a stepchild? Michelle shook her head. He said, That's not my mom. She's my babysitter. Dead silence in the room. That was the moment when everything flipped. A stolen child? The officer pulled me out of the room. I was now standing just outside the glass security office, watching them go into full motion. 2 cops talking quickly. One of them on the phone. Another started pulling up missing child alerts on a laptop. They took photos of the boy and ran a database check. 5 minutes later, the mood completely changed. Because that boy? He had been reported missing 2 weeks ago. And then things got real. His name was Isaiah, and he'd been listed as missing from Eden Prairie, about 25 minutes from Minneapolis. His aunt had custody after his mom died. Shauna, or whatever her real name was, used to babysit him months ago. Then she just stopped showing up. The aunt assumed she moved. Nobody had seen Shauna since. Until today. When she showed up at the Mall of America, pushing Isaiah around in a stroller like a trophy, using him as an excuse to manipulate strangers, and tried to steal from me in the process. Now this wasn't just about a jacket. This was about a kidnapped child. The real name, the real story. By now, I'm not even focused on my code anymore. I'm standing off to the side with my jaw half open, watching this whole thing unravel. The female officer walks over to the first officer and quietly says, She used a fake name during her previous arrest. The real name links to 2 active cases, one for child endangerment, one for custodial interference. They pulled her file again. This time, everything came up. Arrests in 2 states. Protective orders. She'd been charged before for trying to claim kids that weren't hers. One of those cases was dismissed on a technicality, but another was still open. They had her on body cam. On surveillance. On record. And now, they had a missing child with her. She finally broke. I didn't see it firsthand, but one of the guards told me later that when they showed her the missing child alert, she panicked. Started screaming, crying, trying to say it was a misunderstanding. That she was just watching him. That he's better off with me. CPS had to physically separate her from Isaiah when she tried to grab his hand. She kept screaming over and over. He loves me more than her. I took him because she doesn't deserve him. She was arrested right there in the office. This time, it wasn't just for attempted theft. They were now holding her for kidnapping, identity fraud, violation of probation, and interference with custody orders. Me? I just wanted boots. At this point, I'd been there for over 2 hours. I was emotionally fried. A staff member brought me another coffee, free this time. They offered to validate my parking, and one of the officers walked me back to my car in the ramp. Before I left, Officer Medina, the first guy I spoke to, gave me a card and said, You might be contacted by detectives. You're part of the case now. Not just as a victim of the attempted theft, but as the person who helped us find a missing child. I didn't know how to respond. All I wanted was a pair of winter boots. Now I was tangled in the middle of something much bigger. 2 weeks later, I got the call. It was Detective Wallace, from the Bloomington Police Department. He asked if I'd be willing to testify if things went to trial. I said yes. I meant it. After everything I'd seen, that woman clawing at me, dragging a missing child around like a prop, I wasn't about to back down. They didn't tell me much else over the phone, just that Shauna had been denied bail and was facing multiple charges. The kidnapping charge alone could get her serious time. I figured that was it. I wouldn't see her again. I'd just give my statement later. But then I got subpoenaed. To appear in court. In person. The courthouse. It was a plain courtroom, quiet except for the ticking wall clock. I sat in the front row behind the prosecution. Shauna was led in wearing a beige jail-issued sweater, her hands cuffed, eyes locked forward. When she saw me, she froze for a second. I didn't look away. The courtroom filled with tension, but it was her that made it explode. The judge asked if she wanted to make a statement. It was just a bail hearing. A short one. But she stood up, trembling, eyes wild. I didn't steal that boy. I was protecting him. From what? The judge asked. She turned, not to the judge, but to me. From people like him. She hissed, pointing at me. The whole courtroom froze. The prosecutor stood up. But Shauna didn't stop. He didn't care that Isaiah was cold. He wouldn't give up his precious jacket. What kind of man walks away from a freezing child? You tried to take it off me. I said, calm but loud. You didn't ask. You grabbed me. You followed me. Then she screamed. A high, broken sound that echoed in the chamber. I didn't have anyone. I needed something to hold on to. The judge banged the gavel and told her to be quiet. She didn't. She broke down right there in front of everyone, not a few tears. A collapse. Like everything she had built up in her twisted mind had shattered. He loved me. She sobbed. Isaiah said he loved me. I just wanted someone to stay. The bailiff escorted her out as she screamed and cried. She didn't look at me again. After that day, I didn't hear much for a while. I gave my full statement in a police office a week later. Signed a few documents. They said she was going to plead guilty to avoid a trial. She'd already been deemed mentally unstable by one court-ordered psychologist. The kid Isaiah was back with his aunt. CPS told me he was safe now, and undergoing counseling. Apparently, he had thought Shauna was his mom for a while. She'd been telling him his aunt didn't love him. That she abandoned him. He'd been confused. Brainwashed. That hit me the hardest. It wasn't about the coat anymore. It was about how easily people like that can use kindness as a weapon. One final confrontation. But it wasn't over. Not for me. I ran into Shauna's real sister about a month later, totally by accident. I was getting gas near St. Paul when she saw me and walked over. She introduced herself and said, "You were the guy at the mall. The one she grabbed." I said, "Yeah?" She nodded slowly, looked down at her feet, then said, "I'm sorry. I know that doesn't fix anything. But I want you to know, you weren't the first." She told me Shauna had always been unstable. Growing up, she used to lie about being abused just to get attention. She'd fake illness. Cry wolf. Pretend to be someone else. But the worst part, her sister said, she always used kids. Babysitting was her trick. She wanted someone who'd love her without conditions. When I asked why she didn't report her earlier, her sister said, "I tried. No one believed me. She always made herself the victim. She was good at it. It's been almost a year now. Every winter, when I wear that coat, I think about what happened. I don't feel guilty for not giving it up. I know that sounds harsh. But I've learned something. Kindness shouldn't be blind. Helping someone doesn't mean letting them take from you. And trust? That's earned. Not demanded through screaming or guilt. People tell me I was lucky. That I didn't get hurt. That it could have gone worse. And yeah, they're right. But they also say this. I would have just walked away. I wouldn't have done anything. But if I had walked away, Isaiah might still be missing. Sometimes standing your ground isn't about ego. It's about doing what's right, even if you don't know the full picture yet. I still wear that jacket. But now, I wear it like armor. Not just against the cold, but against people like her. And if she ever sees me again, she'll know, you don't get to take things that don't belong to you. Not coats. Not lies. And not children.